Hello, dear colleagues. I'm very glad to be with you. And today we are going to talk about the first steps from primary to secondary school that our pupils have already made in a new Ukrainian school. Well, when my students come to secondary school, I often ask them one question. This question is, why do we study foreign languages? You know, the answers are very different. Some pupils say that we study foreign languages to learn to read and to write. Some pupils say that they want to have a good job in the future. But I think you will agree with me that the answer is really very simple. We all study foreign languages for communication because we need to communicate with people from other countries in different ways. So, what are the types of communication? You see, there are 5 main types of communication. They are verbal, non-verbal, written, visual, and listening. What do all these types include? Verbal, of course, means speaking. And we speak face to face, we speak over the telephone, we use social networks, and it is very popular now to speak via Skype and Zoom and to send different kinds of voice messages. And it is very comfortable. So it is really very important part of communication. Well, the next one is non-verbal. It is also very important because sometimes we need just some facial expressions or gestures, and eye contact is really very important for us. So when we communicate in the classroom or face to face, we can show our emotions with the help of non-verbal means of communication. And our partners can understand us easily and quickly. Well, written communication is extremely important nowadays because when our students become older, they need to be able to write email letters, reports, essays, and so on. You know, they, of course, will pass some English exams, and it is really important that our students will be able to write correctly. Visuals. We are the members of a visual society. We use a television and different social networks. We watch videos and we make videos for our friends and for our relatives. And visual communication is also very important. And finally, listening. Some people believe that listening is not a part of communication, but I disagree because it is really very important to listen to your partner and to understand your partner, to produce a good dialogue. And if you are taking part in different kinds of negotiations, it is also very important to understand what your partners are speaking and to answer them in the correct way. And music. Music is a great part of our life, and it is really very pleasant when you listen to some song and you can understand the words, not just enjoy the music. Okay, and when we teach our pupils in primary school, we choose some textbooks, but it's always a problem when our pupils go to secondary school because we have got a problem what textbook to choose. There are a lot of different types of textbooks and they are really very different, and it is good to find a perfect book for our pupils. And what should the textbook contain? The perfect textbook should contain familiar vocabulary, because if we choose the textbook with different vocabulary, our pupils will have difficulties in understanding some words. Then it is very important that the textbook contains familiar types of exercises, because we had been teaching our pupils some types of exercises for 4 years. And now if the types of exercises are changed, they will have some misunderstanding. Then it is really important to have enough exercises. And finally, grammar explanations are also necessary. So the textbook that you choose should correspond to your requirements. And in my opinion, it is sometimes really a great problem to choose a perfect textbook. Well, I hope you do know our textbooks for primary school. And now I want you to meet a textbook for secondary school. This textbook is Hip Hip Hello. And to my opinion, this textbook is just perfect after the textbooks for primary school. Well, now, let's have a look at the ways that we can use to develop different communication skills. So, as I have already told, verbal communication is very important. It consists of dialects and monologues. Our students now can produce some simple dialects because you taught them to do it in primary school. But in secondary school, the dialects are more complicated. How can we teach our pupils to communicate? The answer is very simple, as I see. Here is the example of the exercise from the textbook. You can see some words and you can see some words in boxes. This is the way to replace the words from the dialogue using the words in boxes. And in this way, your pupils can produce their own dialects. So it's a kind of a hint for them to start producing their own dialects. Well, another way is role playing. You know, it is very difficult to teach our students this type of activity. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. This type of exercises will be very helpful because you can see some instructions, your pupils read these instructions, and there is also useful language that your pupils can use while producing their dialects. You know, and these types of activities are really helpful in our work. Then dialects are simple. It is more difficult to answer the questions, and in this way, pictures help us very much. And I know that it's always a problem to teach pupils to answer the questions not using 1 or 2 words, but give full answers. And in this type of exercises, you can use this type of exercises for teaching your pupils to answer the questions. Pictures are helpful because they contain a lot of extra information, and your pupils will be able to learn to speak fluently. One more example of the dialects. You can see some pictures. Pictures are great, and bright colors are also great because they attract attention. Useful language is also very good because in this case, your pupils can also replace one words with other words using some hints which are in useful language box. It always works great because firstly, your pupils use the language from the box, and then they start replace words from the dialects with their own words. Games. Games are fun. Games are great because they help not only produce different types of dialects, but they also can help our pupils to avoid the language barrier, because when they communicate to each other, they feel more relaxed. It is not easy to teach them to play games, but if you are brave enough and if you have such helpful exercises, you will find this task just quite easy, maybe not easy, but not so difficult. And your pupils will be glad to take part in such communication games. Well, pictures are always fun and they help us to develop different types of skills. You can use pictures to do exercises as the instruction tells you, but you also can use your imagination. For example, it is very good to use such pictures, for example, to divide your pupils into teams and to tell the differences between these pictures. Also, my pupils like when I ask them to look very carefully at the pictures for some time, for 1 minute or two, when I say the phrase, you need to look carefully for 1 minute, they know that something interesting is going to happen. Then I ask my pupils to close their books and to use their memory and describe, for example, these rooms, or maybe some other pictures. And they find it very funny and helpful. They are not afraid of speaking, so they are not afraid of communication. And here is one more example of the role play game. And now, non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, as I have already told, means eye contact, some gestures, some facial expressions. I cannot say that we use them quite often, but there are some situations when this type of communication is very helpful. For example, while studying some new vocabulary, you can use, for example, mime games to guess the words. And here is the example of one. So if you show some kind of egg, your pupils can guess what kind of egg it is, and it is a good idea to use mime games while learning some activities, because pupils enjoy showing different kinds of activities using their face, using gestures, body language, and they guess, and it is always fun. Another kind of activity is very interesting. You can see pictures which tell us about some daily routine, somebody's typical day. And in this case, I use one very interesting game. When we come up to the topic, my working day or my day off or my weekend, there is a good idea to ask one of the pupils to show some actions, and other pupils should guess what happens during the day. It is fun, and it also can help to develop the skills of monologue, because dialogue is a little bit different from the monologue, and monologues are more difficult for our students. And in this case, you can use both and pictures and mind games. Written communication, as you know, is extremely important because we should teach our pupils to write different kinds of writing. And firstly, we start with email letters. Sometimes it is a problem for our pupils to organize their email letters in the perfect way. In this exercise, you can see some highlighted words, and you can explain your pupils that if they replace highlighted words with their own ones, they will get their completely different email letters. It helps to teach pupils to organize different kinds of writing tasks in the perfect way. Of course, they make a lot of mistakes, but if you continue practicing this type of communication, you will have good results at the end of the school. One more example of the exercise which can help you to develop written communication skills in your pupils. And another kind of email letter. So in this case, as our pupils are in the 5th form, they mostly write email letters, maybe some simple notes, but email letters are important for their final exams, English exams at school. Well, but in this case, in this way, you can create different kinds of written tasks. And one more example of the exercise, and here your pupils have got even helpful vocabulary in special boxes. As you can see, they can choose those words and word combinations that they need, and they will get their own piece of writing. Visual communication. Visual communication is also good. And here you can say different kinds of images that can help us organize our classroom activities and can help our pupils to understand classroom language. Of course, it is impossible to use all of them because your pupils need to read some of them. But you know, in some cases, you can show pictures and your pupils will understand it. And pictures, as I have already told, help our pupils to develop their speaking skills. For example, such schemes can help your pupils to organize their dialogues or their monologues because they work as a hint, yes, and your pupils look and understand what to ask first, what question will be second, not to forget to ask something or to tell about something. So visuals are really very necessary. And this kind of exercise can help pupils to develop monologues and to practice their vocabulary because pictures help to remember some words and organize their language in the perfect way. Pictures are also very helpful for producing dialogues, not only monologues. And here is the example of such an exercise. So you know that pictures are really useful, and textbook without pictures is very boring, because when your kids get books, the first thing they pay attention to is pictures. Listening. Listening is necessary for understanding other people. There are different kinds of exercises to develop listening skills, and they are one of them is to answer the question. So when your pupils listen to some dialects or some text and they have got questions, it's easier for them to prepare the answers to these questions and to develop speaking skills as well. And songs are very great. Songs are great for learning new vocabulary. Songs are great for organizing sentences and also for communication too. And it's just a wonderful way to have some minutes of relaxation and enjoy music and enjoy songs. And my pupils even like dancing while the music is playing and they are singing. One more thing that I want to mention is games. They, I think, contain all types of communication together, because there are pictures, there are questions, some words, games push your pupils to producing dialogues, to answering questions, to producing monologues, and to communication. This is a very good way to organize revision. This is a very good way to avoid your pupils from not speaking. So they are encouraged to speak anyway. They are encouraged to collaborate with each other. Well, and finally, communication is the key to understanding and collaboration. I think if you are brave enough and you would like your pupils to speak, you will use all possible and even impossible opportunities to teach your pupils communication skills. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your time. Hope to see you at our webinars. Goodbye.